Hi, we're here today and we're having our conversations with colleagues. So today we're actually going to be talking about a topic which is perhaps not known by many people, but it is becoming more known within the lactation community, and that is called dysphoric milk ejection reflex. So when you think about the hormone oxytocin, we often think of it as being a pleasurable or providing a pleasurable experience. And sometimes, or it's known as the love hormone. So what happens if this hormone triggers negative emotions when you're breastfeeding your infant? This is what's happened in the case that's called dysphoric milk ejection reflex. So we know that the dysphoria occurs generally around the milk ejection reflex period of time or just before, and it will last for a few minutes following. The dysphoria actually is quite abrupt and gives quite negative emotions. And in 2018, there was a research article published in the Journal of Clinical Lactation called The Mystery of D-MER. What can hormonal research tell us about dysphoric milk ejection reflex? So, and in that study, they actually noted that the D-MER can be so severe that the mothers or lactating parents actually feel forced to wean. So today we have the opportunity to actually speak with a parent, a mum. Jessica identifies as a mother, and she has 4 young children aged 5 and under. And she experienced D-MER with 3 of her 4 children, and she's here to share her experience with us today. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
That's great. And thank you again so much for actually offering to talk with us, because I think your topic is really important. Now, we've chatted before, and you explained to me that you had this experience with your first 3. Would you like to share what you went through with your first 3 infants?
Sure. So with my first, breastfeeding was difficult from the get-go. She was hard to latch. It was painful. It was a horrible experience. As it progressed, I'd say about a month in, I started having a lot of emotions that I didn't realize had anything to do with breastfeeding at the time. But I almost thought I had postpartum depression, or because I just felt miserable all the time. I didn't want to hold her or cuddle with her or do any of those things. And so I eventually ended up pumping exclusively with her. And we lasted 6 months before I had to stop. And I got better, but I still hadn't realized it was associated with breastfeeding. I thought it was just, she was older, she was 6 months, and the postpartum stuff was getting better, the baby blues. So with her, I didn't really know what it was. And then come my second, she was better at breastfeeding, but around the 6-week mark, I started getting those feelings again. And my doctor at the time told me to stop breastfeeding. She said that it would get better. So I did, because I was crying all the time. I felt no connection to her. I did not enjoy breastfeeding. I didn't like the experience, the feeling. So I was starting to realize it was associated with breastfeeding. So I stopped, and it went away. Within a few weeks, I was fine. And then I had my third, and I fully expected those feelings to come back, still not knowing that this was a thing. And they did, and I stopped breastfeeding at 6 weeks again. But I started realizing really with that one that it was really when I was breastfeeding, there was this feeling that I felt really icky in my skin. I didn't want to, I just wanted to get out of my body, almost like an anxious feeling in the pit of my stomach. It just was a really bad feeling with the breastfeeding, and it made me resent my children a little bit. Like I didn't want them on me and that sort of thing. And then when I was pregnant with my 4th, my friend sent me an article about DMER, and she said, I think this is what you have. And that was the first time I had heard of it. So then I started really looking into it. And with the help of my midwives, I told them I really wanted to breastfeed. This is my last baby. So they suggested hypnotherapy. So I went to hypnotherapy, but I went, and it definitely helped. So I look back and I think my births were pretty much the same for my first three. I had hospital births with epidurals. My last birth, I really wanted to do natural, no epidural, no intervention. So everything was different about it. Like I tackled the DMER early. I knew what it was. I had my non-intervention birth, so I had no drugs. And that was a great experience in itself. And then following that, as soon as she was born and she was 3 weeks old, I went to hypnotherapy, and it's really changed, not just the DMER. I mean, I have 0 symptoms this time. I love breastfeeding. So the whole experience has been completely different for me. It's also helped my generalized anxiety. It's just really been a big change for me. Which has been a great thing because there's a lot going on right now. Yeah. So to be able to just breastfeed and not worry and not have those feelings, but have the opposite feeling of attachment has just been a great experience.
That's amazing. One thing I realized is that you actually went for the hypnotherapy. Were you having any symptoms at 3 weeks?
Not really. It usually starts a bit later for me, around 5 or 6 weeks. And she spent 3 weeks in the NICU, so I wasn't exclusively breastfeeding for the first 3 weeks. She was getting bottles overnight. I was pumping though when I was home, and pumping also brings it on for me. So, but no, and I hadn't really had any, I would say, DMER symptoms yet. Just just normal newborn things. Yes. She was in the NICU, so it was difficult. But when she got home, I really she was a great breastfeeder, I could tell already, and I wanted to make sure I did everything I could to try and breastfeed successfully. So then that's when we tackled it with the hypnotherapy, and I was very skeptical. I'm not one to do those things or to believe in those things, but it immediately was such a drastic change. And I really like that the way it was done is something that I can reinforce when I'm home. So with one session, and then every time I breastfeed, I repeat the same steps, and it just brings back those positive feelings. And the more often I repeat the steps, the more positive the feelings become. So that was really useful for me. It's not something I have to go to all the time or, return. It's something I can reinforce at home.
So it's actually been beneficial for you all around. And being a mum of four little ones. So
and I have generalized anxiety, and so one session, we only did 2 sessions. One was specific to breastfeeding, one was specific to my generalized anxiety. And I mean, I think they're very closely linked. So it was good though to be able to tackle both, and both have been drastically improved.
That's really wonderful. So your little one just turned 2 months yesterday. So and you are really enjoying being a mom and breastfeeding, which is really wonderful. So if you were to give any key messages that you'd like to share with health professionals and other parents, what do you think they'd be?
I wish I had known that it wasn't normal to have those feelings. I think that some people I spoke to diminish them just to be like, oh, breastfeeding is hard, or, oh, it'll get better, but there was no real investigation into why are you feeling like this? So I would tell people that if they're not feeling right, or they're struggling with that, to, advocate for themselves more, or and health experts to know about it more and to bring it up. And I really think it should be addressed when parents are released from the hospital with their babies. It should be part of that information package about, the effects that breastfeeding can have hormonally, or with the, the oxytocin, that it's something they should be watching for.
Okay, so even when we do discharge education, just to be aware, we talk about, often we don't talk about postpartum depression either, but these are things that I think perhaps we should be discussing, that it's, having any types of feelings that are actually out of the normal, talk to people, right? Make sure you actually, and have better education about it, so that you can actually get to enjoy feeding your little ones.
To try and remove the stigma, because I think some others just think it should be natural and just happen, and that's not the case for a lot of us. And
Yeah.
And so we need to remove that stigma of not talking about it being difficult, because I definitely had a lot of guilt, especially with my first, when I stopped. Like, I want to do this, but I can't for my own mental health. So
I think that's really, really important. And I really want to thank you, Jessica. You know, and I'm really glad you're enjoying your experience feeding your little one this time. I will say for our listeners, if anyone is interested in learning more about D-MER, we will post in the links of the comments, so you can read about it. And for our healthcare professionals, please ask your clients if they are having any feelings, and help them find good solutions. Now, we know hypnotherapy is one option. There are many other options out there, but if we don't know about it, we can't help them. So thank you again so much.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.